I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Sacramento, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And the biggest stock riser on this card is pretty obvious. It is Gregory Rodriguez, who gets the decision win over Anthony Hernandez. So I guess that solves the whole issue of, can Gregory Rodriguez go 5 rounds? Cardio wasn't an issue tonight. He gets it done by decision. I think a lot of people thought knockout or stoppage, but he gets it done on the scorecards, which I think is even more impressive in this matchup here. And this was a one-sided fight. I was pretty impressed with Rodriguez and what he was able to do here. The significant strikes very wide here, 174 to 90. Overall strikes 242 to 111. Fluffy does get one takedown, but look at this: 39 body shots, 24 leg kicks, and then a bunch of clinch shots and ground shots as well. This was a very dominant performance from Rodriguez, and I think this was one of those fights where Rodriguez has now emerged as a contender in the weight class. Fluffy has kind of exited that spot now with back-to-back losses. We'll talk about him in a sec, but very impressive. Of course, calls out DDP, wants a fight with him. I think that's absolutely within his wheelhouse at this point. Rodriguez, this was a big one for him. And the other impressive part with this too is he goes into Fluffy's backyard in Sacramento and he gets the win as well. So really impressed with Gregory Rodriguez. I don't think there's any debate here. Biggest stock riser. Of course, they both get performance or fight of the night, I should say, on this event. So Gregory Rodriguez, no questions asked, biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, second biggest stock riser on this card. A couple different ways you can go with this one. I was talking to some people in my Discord, and listen, everyone's got their own criteria for stock riser, stock dropper, all that stuff, but I'm going to go with Reiner de Ritter. Now, look, he was favored to beat, obviously, Dolidze at minus 400 here, but it's the fact he gets the finish in this fight, and I know Dolidze's 38, but RDR moving up a weight class I thought looked really good here tonight, and the big thing for me is that because he's entering in at 205, that's a weight class, in my opinion, that is wide open at this moment. A lot of guys injured or have moved up, so if we look here right now at the rankings, I know neither guy was ranked coming in here, but you look at some of the names on the bottom here, even like a Johnny Walker, who's now going to be fighting at heavyweight. RDR is going to be in this mix now, and again, the fact that he finishes a Roman Dolidze I thought was very impressive. Remember, this was a guy just a couple fights ago who looked like he was going to be lying for the middleweight title. Of course, he lost that fight to Brennan Allen, and then he lost to Bahalio, and now he gets this kind of big spot here on the Sacramento card and snaps that 2-fight skid, ends up getting in the win column and gets a finish here. Hasn't had a finish since the Bo Nickel fight in May of last year. So I look more at this at context. Obviously, there were some other incredible performances, and we'll talk about them in a sec, but I think to me, de Ritter stock went up big time because, again, new division, gets a finish on the main card of a UFC fight night. I thought that was very impressive. And then third biggest stock riser on this card. Again, similar situation here where we have someone fighting a outmatched opponent here, and in this case, it's Carly Judici, who's minus 600 against Chavez, but it's the fact that Judici now 7-2 overall, gets another finish here. She's 27. And if we're looking at the division right now, Judici's someone that's making some noise, right? Like kind of like we see Fatima Klein in her weight class doing at flyweight. I think Carly Judici is certainly making some noise here. She's got finishes in 3 of her last 4 fights. Nice 4-fight win streak here. I'm not saying this means she's going to be some sort of contender right now, but this is something that I think a lot of us have wanted, is certain fighters to break through and make some noise. And I think Judici is certainly doing that here. So to me, I just look at the context of the division. Again, a division 2 that is not making a ton of noise right now, and part of that is the UFC's doing as well, but you look kind of at the bottom here, you got O'Neal, Mora. I mean, this could get her ranked at this point. Miranda Maverick hasn't fought in a while, so we'll see where she ends up, but I like what Carly Judici's doing at flyweight. Again, big favorite, was expected to do this, but that's what you want to see, a first round finish. Carly Judici gets it done. Honorable mention, we have to mention Jamal Emmers, obviously huge upset win. I had some, we were talking in our Discord about Jamal Emmers being a second biggest stock riser. My thing is this, like, again, amazing win and huge upset and comes through as a plus 290 underdog, but I just look at the context of Jamal Emmers here, 37 years old, right? He is on a win streak right now, and he may get a ranked opponent next. We'll see, but I just think it's a little bit too late for him to go on any type of run here. Well, you never know, but I just think with the fact that he's a bit older in the weight class, the wins that he's got are not like, world beaters by any means here. And I just think he lost a lot of momentum, having a couple key losses a couple years ago and just not fighting that often. Saying that though, this is going to be one of the big highlights of the card. Really happy to see Emmers get this win. And, again, he was counted out here. So got to give him an honorable mention, but I don't put his stock too high because I just don't think that even with this win, he's going to go on some crazy run, but you never know. We'll see what happens. And then I got to mention Markel Medeiros getting it done over Mason Jones. I believe Medeiros was an underdog here. Yeah, he was plus 295, and he finishes Mason Jones here, gets it done. Really like what Markel's been doing over there at the MMA lab. Of course, that's the first stoppage loss for Jones in his career, so that adds even more. Again, if you want to move things around a little bit, maybe put a Medeiros ahead of Carly Judici, I'd be okay with that too. Medeiros coming into tonight was coming off, that draw with Chris Padilla. Hadn't really broken through. I think tonight was that breakthrough performance here for Medeiros, so got to put him as a stock riser as well. Okay, let's get to our stock droppers. This one's obvious. It's Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I don't know what's happened to him. But this fight was one-sided, like I said, with him and Gregory Rodriguez. That's now back-to-back losses. That win over Brendan Allen is in the rearview mirror. Even before that, the Dolidze win obviously was after that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here. But he right now is kind of hovering on being sort of a gatekeeper. He's kind of what Brendan Allen, I think, has turned into a bit, which is someone that, if you beat him, it's a good win, but just can't get over the hump here. And I don't know if it's, I know Hernandez was training a bit at Extreme Couture. I don't know if a camp change is needed at this point here, but he just looks like, again, we've had back-to-back fights now against contenders. Granted, we could use the excuse that he fought Sean Strickland, who's the current middleweight champion. Gregory Rodriguez, I think, is a contender in this weight class, but to be, outmatched that badly, I think there's got to be some drastic changes here with Fluffy. He's 32 years old. It's now or never if he's going to make some big changes. I think he needs to either go to a new camp or change something up here. Some people in my Discord were talking about him maybe moving down a weight class. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, tough one there for Anthony Hernandez. Really needs to go back to the drawing board and fix things up here, but that was a very one-sided fight here in the main event tonight. Good fight, but very much one-sided. Second biggest stock dropper on this card for me is going to be Roman Dolidze. And again, I know he was a huge underdog here, but it's just the fact that, 38 years old now, and that's 3 straight losses. Could get cut after that loss. But this was a guy at one point who was ranked. Remember the 3-fight win streak. And remember, he had a win over Anthony Smith at light heavyweight back in 2024. So if he got another win here, again, he could be in a nice spot in a division, like I said, that's wide open. But loses to DeRitter, gets finished. He's been finished now in 2 of his last 3 fights. This could be the end of the road here for Roman Dolidze at 38, who, again, suffers his 3rd straight loss. Another one we got to mention here is obviously odds. I'll go for our 3rd biggest stock droppers on the odds, and that is Larian Douglas. Big favorite here. Obviously, that big debut against, he beat Julian Erosa right before this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he did. But let's be fair. Julian Erosa has been knocked out a handful of times. But yeah, you could see, even though he had this nice win streak kind of coming into this, which obviously got him the UFC contract and everything else, there were a few flaws there. And I think that caught up to him tonight. And I don't know if he underestimated Emmers, but Emmers just took it to him and was definitely the better fighter here tonight. But we got to mention him because this was, I think, the biggest upset on the card from the betting odds. Jamal Emmers busting a lot of parlays here. Larian Douglas back to the drawing board here. And then just 2 more stock droppers as well, just for honorable mentions. Again, if you want to put them in your top 3, totally fine by me. I mean, there's no science to this. I just tell you how I'm doing it, context-wise. Mason Jones, got to put him there. He was a favorite tonight. Actually, was he a bigger favorite? Was he? So he was minus 370. What was Douglas? I think Douglas was minus 390. Was I wrong about that? Minus 380. Okay, so Jones just narrowly escapes here. But again, 18-2 record, 2nd stint in the UFC. Had a nice win streak again. The Axel Solo win was good, but that's all evaporated now with him getting knocked out in the 2nd round there. So tough one there for Mason Jones. And then also got to put up Sergey Spivak. He's another guy I could have put in my top 3 as well. Petrino gets the win, but this fight just was not entertaining. And now Spivak loses again. And the story with Spivak has always been just can't get over the hump, right? Now he's lost, 3 of his last 4. We're kind of teetering on, is he going to get cut here pretty soon? Remember, he's been in the UFC for a while, since 2019, but just hasn't broken through at all. And he's not that old either. He's 31 in the weight class, but another tough loss here. Just, again, the fight wasn't good and he loses. That's a double whammy as far as the stock report goes, with him losing some stock there. So let me know in the comments your 3 biggest stock risers, 3 biggest stock droppers. Would love to hear from you. Let me know your context as well, like how you're picking them or why. Would love to hear from you. Again, there's no right or wrong answers here. This is just one man's opinion, that man being me. Great card though tonight. Gotta mention that. Really enjoyed that. I'll be back on Monday previewing the Shanghai card, so keep an eye out for that on the channel. My name is James Lynch. This is the Stock Report. I do this after every single UFC event. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.